All right, this is a little bit of a bonus video. So again, this is Jordan. I'm just kidding, it's Juno. Yeah, oh, nice. And this is Zoe. And so basically they had Jacob come over here and work with them on the relaxation protocol, but she was so energetic, it wasn't as beneficial as it could be. So again, exercise her first. Now, we talked about like not allowing the dogs in the kitchen when we're, as a rule, when we're eating or when we're preparing food in the kitchen, or when we're at the dinner room table, or guests are at the door. So what I would do is, the word is nice, so let's get, well, let me get the other Charlie Bears. We went through all those Charlie Bears. You guys are gonna probably not need dinner tonight because you're getting all your meal this way, which is a great thing. Come here. Sit. So the relaxation protocol is something as simple as just saying, wait, nice. 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 So what you're doing is we're walking away and we're helping the dog practice kind of a little bit of emulation of what we were talking about in the above video, helping the dog practice. Look at the energy level here. She's excited, but she's practicing controlling herself a little bit. And I'll come back before I go too long. I should have said nice there before I did that. But if you take too big a step, the dog's gonna run off this. So now, how can we build onto this? I'd like you guys to go back to the 15-day regimen that we gave you in that list and practice this when you have other stuff going on. So you might, what I usually do is we practice the dogs separately, all the stages, and then you bring them back together and practice with, and I can do it here. Nice. And give them those treats. If you have difficulty with this, maybe one of you is with one dog, one of you is with the next dog, and you maybe have to be on the other sides of the room if they're too excitable, and gradually get them closer and closer. Now, there's certain sounds, and you okay if I touch this?
Oh yeah.
So if you want to watch the dog's ears, or at least you see a little bit of that stiffness. Now, I'm not using the front door because that'll cause a crescendo of energy, but this is kind of what I was talking about, working our way up to that point. So right now, when they hear the door, the screen door outside, somebody's hitting that handle, they go crazy and run towards the door. Now we could do a little counter conditioning where I might just go like, oh, sit. Nice. I forgot to say nice last time, didn't I? So what we want to do is make it very progressive. So I might actually have one of the husband and wives outside. So you're doing the relaxation program. I would do it for like a minute, then have one of you get up and walk out the door. Well, I'm more interested in paying attention to you because you're the giver of treats right now. Then the other person's outside the door and maybe they just touch the handle. Nice. And then they both get a treat. You'll get a better one since I skipped you. And then I jiggle the handle a little bit more. Nice, and get a treat. And what are they doing? They're practicing to stay on their dog bed while they hear the trigger that normally causes them to rush the door. But because they know it was the guardian they just left, and there's another guardian giving me the treats, I don't have to feel that need, and I'm practicing staying here while I hear that. Eventually you're jiggling it as much as you can, and they're just staying there relaxed. And then you say nice and give them the treat. Eventually you jiggle it and then open it an inch and close it, and the person inside nice and gives them a treat. And you work your way up to the point where you can jiggle it really loud, open the door, and eventually you can do it with both doors. So you open the inside door. So I would break this down step by step. So at first I would probably start with the outside door stuff as a trigger, so because the dogs can see through the door and see that it's one of their guardians. Once I get to the point where they're sitting on the dog bed and the person outside can jiggle it and yank the door open wide, and the dogs are like oblivious to it or don't care because the treats come from staying here, then I would probably do the same thing with the door. So maybe I would jiggle the handle of the inside door. Nice, go back and give them the treats. Jiggle it, and then jiggle the lock a little bit. Nice, and give them the treat. Jiggle the deadbolt, and then eventually latching the deadbolt or unlatching. Coming back over and getting the treats. Open the door just a little bit, closing it, come back, nice, give them the treat. A little more and more and more. Eventually it gets to the point where I can open the door, open the next door, then go back over the dog, nice, and give them the treat. And eventually we do it when somebody's outside but they don't knock. So they call us, hey, I'm outside your door. Great. Start doing the relaxation protocol. Come over, open the door, open the next door. Nice, and then the guest comes in on. So we're helping them practice. And if the guest comes in, they get it crazy, the guest just steps right back outside and we practice that, remember, go back to an easier level. So that's a way of adding the relaxation protocol to people at the door. Do the same thing for cooking. So You walk one step towards the kitchen, come back and give them the treat. Eventually you walk into where you turn the stove on, tick, 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 tick. Come back and give them that. Grab a pot, put it on the stove, bang, come back. And so you hear all these sounds, opening the refrigerator. Well, that's where usually if I rush them, they get lunch meat. No, no, no. If I stay here and I hear the refrigerator door open and lunch meat comes out, they're gonna come over here and give me a treat. So the benefit is waiting here while they're cooking over there. And what is our dog doing? It's practicing self-restraint, practicing self-control, practicing listening to the guardian. The key to this is not to do it when you're actually cooking a meal. Because when you're cooking a meal, you get frustrated when you have to stop over and you get your hands, you gotta wash your hands. Just do this, pretend to do this. Eventually work up and simulate it. Get to the point where you're doing this and you microwave a piece of roast beef and then put it on the table and they're smelling the smell of food. But I'm staying in my dog bed and the guardians come back and give me a treat. Eventually you sit down. If you're sitting down for a real meal, well then you want to eat your meal. You're going to be frustrated coming over. So do that roast beef. Sit down in your normal sit places. Cut the roast beef in half, put it on each plate. Then somebody comes over, gives the dog a treat. Go back over, cut another piece. Eat one, come back over here and give them the treat. So the rewards, again, come from staying here as opposed to rushing the table, going to the kitchen or whatever the case may be. So these are just two examples, but I want you to think of how can I extrapolate and use this relaxation protocol for the doorbell, for certain sounds. When I'm feeding the dogs, I would do the relaxation protocol and just cascade like one treat, drop, bink, come back over and give them a treat. Then bink, bink, come back over and give them a treat. So again, we make the feeding, staying here and practicing self-control is what gets me permission eventually to go over and eat the food. But we have to go very progressively, very slowly, incrementally, and then set the dogs up for success. And again, don't ever be afraid to use that exercise if you need to. If you're having to physically restrain your dogs, you move way past the line. We want the dogs to do all the restraint on their own. Any restraint we do is essentially force. It's going to cause them to try to push past it, which is going to amplify their emotions, and that's working against us. So if you're having a bad day, dogs are having a bad day, pull the plug. Keep these short practice sessions. Make sure they're very successful, so the last repetition is one of the best ones you do. Better to pull the plug too early and have them ruminate on that last memory. So the next time they do it, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit here and even longer this time. And you go over there and put the food down in my bowl or eat your dinner or whatever it is. At the end of that, I'm going to come over and get a treat. Isn't that right? Well, this is Juno, and this is Zoey. And these are some tips on how you can build on the relaxation protocol to help your dog practice relaxing.